much. Okay, Greg, I am quite excited to have you on the show for some reasons, alright? Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking, because I believe in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, Greg, I was reading the writing of an ancient monarch, King Solomon, and he said, seek knowledge, seek understanding and wisdom, as you would seek your lost money or hidden treasure. That's profound. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, Greg, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I don't want to remain in the dark. And you see, that's going to make our conversation here today very important to me and even to the audience. Now, the second reason why I'm excited to have Greg on the show is for the sake of the listeners. I believe there are some things that Greg knows that some of my audience needs to hear you say these stuff, directly from your mouth, in order for them to get unstuck and experience transformation. I firmly believe that. And lastly, that is me again. You know, Truthfully speaking, I am convinced that I'm definitely going to learn one or two things from you, your insights, your experiences, your story. So for that reason, Greg, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your journey, how you got here, and afterwards, I've got some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Greg, over to you.
You got it, Elijah. So I got my start in franchising way back in high school. We all had to get a job somewhere, and usually it was fast food. So I got my job at Taco Bell. I moved up in the Taco Bell world and found out I was working for a master franchiser for Taco Bell. Her name was Kathy, and she owned about 50 Taco Bells throughout the Sacramento, California area. So that was my first start. I helped her build up her teams throughout the Sacramento, California area and her 50 different restaurants there. I went on to manage restaurants for about 15 years, became a microelectronic circuit engineer, did that for about 15 years, had my own, me and a friend of mine actually, we bought a dry cleaners, storage units, and then I had some rental properties. Finally got out of the corporate world and told my friend, you can have all that other stuff. Those are all private businesses, very challenging to run and operate. But I told my friend he can have those. So I sold my half of the shares over to him. And he left the corporate world at the same time. He took over those. And I said, I got to get my own business. Yeah, franchising thing was a whole heck of a lot of fun. So I need to get back into that. So I started looking around to try and find the right franchise. And I found a franchise consultant to help me out. And he got me into a franchise, ran wonderfully. But I really liked what that franchise consultant was doing. So I went, after a couple of years running my franchise, I went back to him and said, teach me what you do. I want to know what you do about that. You get to work with people all over the United States and work from the comfort of your own home. Actually, work with people all over the world and work from the comfort of your own home without having to do any driving. I said, I want to do that. So as 10, 12 years ago, he taught me how to do that, and I haven't looked back since.
Whoa, amazing. I love that. I love that. I love that. So that's gonna lead to the very first question. Are you ready, Greg?
I'm ready, Elijah.
Okay. So now take for instance someone asks you, hey Greg, you know, I've learned about you and I realized that you're into this franchising thing. Now, how can I become a franchise owner? What would your response be?
So the first thing as a franchise owner, Elijah, what you need to have is you need to have a little bit of risk tolerance. Speaking with, it is a business. You are starting your own business. So even though it's a franchise, helps you reduce the risk, there is still a little bit of risk tolerance in there. So a little bit of risk in there. So you got to be a little bit tolerant to that. You have to be able to be mentored because you're going to have a mentor, and you have to be able to follow a process and procedures as well because those franchises have it all laid out for you. It's a business in a box. They've done it before. They show you how to do it, how they've done it. They've reproduced it a few times. That helps reduce the risk. But you got to be able to be mentored. You got to be able to have follow process and procedures and a little bit of accept a little bit of risk with that. Other than that, there are many different franchises out there. Now, franchising is not necessarily for everybody out there on that, but we'll find that out as we go through the process on that. So the other thing you have to have, of course, money. There is still a little bit of money involved, obviously, in starting up your own business and doing that. Generally speaking, if you look into the services industry where it's about $150,000, give or take, to get into a franchise, you'd be looking at about, for an SBA Express loan, about $20,000 down or so. And that can get you a loan for $150,000, $200,000 on that. So it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot of money, but of course that's subjective because $20,000 to some is a whole lot of money and some to others it's not. So subjective on that one, but that's basically what it takes to get into a service type franchise. If you go into those brick and mortar franchises, the ones, Elijah, that you and I see when we're driving around on that, those do take a little bit more money on that. You'd be looking at a 7A loan, about 20% down on those, and they're generally about $300,000 on up.
Amazing. Permit me to call you Mr. Franchise.
Love it.
Okay, so I believe there are some mistakes, all right, that we need to avoid when selecting a franchise. So can you talk to us about some of those mistakes to avoid?
Yeah, just a few of them, Elijah. The first one to think about is just because it's popular now or in fashion now, don't let that cloud your judgment. You need to know about that business model, where they're bringing in their money, and really what does it look like down the road? What does the future of it look like? So it may be busy today, but whether or not it's going to be busy tomorrow is a whole another story. So really get to know whatever industry that is that you're looking at that you think something's in fashion or on that, and figure out where the money's coming from, where it will continue to come from on that. Always take advantage of free advice. Your local SCORE chapter, SCORE, are good people to talk to. I talked to them when I got into my franchise business as well. They're local to your area. They're local business people that have been around for a number of years, and they're good people to talk to. Chamber of Commerce, another one, good people to talk to. Lots of free advice on those. The other thing is when you're going through and you're investigating that franchise, always make sure you talk to as many franchisees as possible so you get a good feel for that business as well. You want to start talking to them and keep talking to them until you start hearing the same thing over and over again. Hopefully good. If it's not, you need to just move on to another one. Hopefully good. And that way you get a real good feel for it. Start with the ones that are new to the business. How does the franchise help them get started? How do they help them grow? What's their training like? And then the ones that have been around for a while, as you're paying those royalty fees on a regular basis, do you feel like it's worth it? Are you getting your money's worth out of that? And how does the franchise continue to help you grow on that? Always look at funding. Make certain that you have enough money for that. Franchise is generally going to have a net worth requirement, and they have that because they don't want you to run out of money on that. So they generally won't talk to you if you don't have the necessary net worth. All my franchises have, either $200, $200,000, $100,000 net worth, $500,000 net worth if you're getting into a brick and mortar. So you want to make certain that you don't run out of money on that. A good franchise is going to do the same thing too. But there's two different ways to fund the business: either your money or other people's money. And as I mentioned before, the SBA loans is one way to do it. Home equity line of credit is other people's money. Using your money would be like a 401k or an IRA account that you roll over into a self-directed fund on that. You don't go into debt that way, but you are using your retirement money. So it's very, very much a personal decision on that, which way you go. I use my 401k money to do it, and I had complete confidence and betted on myself on that one. And there was a way to go into business then for yourself without going into debt. So those are just a few of the different mistakes that you need to avoid making. There's a whole list of them, a list of 7 of them on my website that you can go through and download as well.
Amazing. I got that. I love the way you explained it. You made it very quite easy to understand. I love that, Mr. Greg. Okay. So, I want you to talk to us about franchise investment levels. I believe there are levels. Can you talk to us about those levels?
You're correct. So Elijah, basically, there are the two different types of franchises that you can get into. You can get into the brick and mortar type franchise itself, and you can get into the service industry. So brick and mortar franchises, basically you build it and they will come. So when you and I see when we're driving down the streets all the time, McDonald's, Taco Bell's, Meineke, Mako, Supercuts, Great Clips, we see all those. And those are the ones that are going to be a little bit higher investment level on those. Generally speaking, you're looking at $250,000, $300,000 on up for those because you're doing a build out uh, in like a strip mall or at a pre-existing building. Generally speaking, most franchises don't have you, or the majority of them don't have you buying any real estate. You can, but they don't because that's kind of an added investment on that. But you'd be looking, at having to have a net worth of around $300,000 to $500,000 on up to make sure you don't run out of money. Then there's the service industry. Service industry is where your clients don't necessarily know you exist until they need you. So now you're looking at a great franchise system to drive people to you when that need arises on that one. So you'll be looking for franchises to have great call centers, great marketing systems on that. And you can go as low as around 100,000 or a little less than 100,000. On average, they're around $150,000 on up from, or $150,000 to 200,000, depending on what kind of equipment that you may need. So if you need a little bit extra equipment, like a tree trimming franchise where you need a little extra equipment on that, that will go up a little bit. But generally speaking, a small office is good. A lot of times you can work from home as well.
I got that. So let us get personal a bit. Is franchise your key to success?
I'm sorry, say that again, Elijah.
Okay, I said, is franchise your key to success?
Franchise a key to what more time? Sorry.
Okay, success, successful, being successful and all of that.
Oh, success. Key to success in a franchise. So a couple of different things you want to look at there, Elijah, when you want to get into a successful franchise is, again, going back to how much risk tolerance you have. We have emerging franchises that are generally less than 20 franchise units in the whole system, to the franchises that have been around for a while that have 100 more franchises in there per franchise system. On there, in the franchise disclosure document, you can actually see the number of franchisees that are currently running the business and the number of franchisees who started the business or no longer running it. So it's pretty easy math to get a success rate out of those. And that pretty much shows you the success rate of how well the franchise picks out good franchisees. There's many reasons why people may have to drop out of the franchise system. A spouse moves, they turned it over to another family member who wasn't vetted out by the franchise, so they don't know how to run it correctly. But find out those things when you can. The other thing is that when you get into a franchise system that has more and more franchises, they've been around 10 years, 20 years, they have 100 or more franchisees, then you have a lot of franchisees to call upon to gather the information you need on that. But you know that they've reproduced it many, many times before on that. There's probably, 5,000 different franchises out there in the U.S. today. And on average, they probably have 20 franchise units altogether. So once they get into 100 franchisees or more, they're really in the top 5% of all the franchises in the U.S. But your real key to success is that you go through the process, you investigate them, do your due diligence on that, talk to as many different franchisees as you can, and really believe in them and look at what are they looking for in a successful franchisee. What are the traits on there? What kind of skill sets do you need to have? What kind of culture do they have? And make certain that you feel good about that, and that the franchisor feels good about what you do as well. There are ones where you can do semi-absentee, so you don't have to be the one actually doing the work. So if it is one that requires, going out and doing some sales and you're not, real strong on sales, you don't want to do that, you can hire somebody else to do that for you on that. And quite often, a lot of my investors will do that. They'll hire other people to do that for you, and they'll just kind of be the operations person behind the scene on that. So you can, but if you're going to do it yourself, just keep in mind that when you talk to those franchisees, find out what they do on a regular basis to bring in the money and picture yourself doing it. And if you can, you're on the right track. If you can't, then again, hire somebody to do it for you or move on and get someone else, get another franchise.
Got that. You see, our conversation is quite insightful because your words are profound. I've been learning some series of things ever since you started talking. So to bring this to an end, Greg, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those ones who like to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, you shared so many amazing stuffs and they would love to learn more. How can that be possible?
Thank you, Elijah. Well, first off, franchising is a great option to look into. Keep in mind, it's not for everybody. You'll figure that out, and we'll figure that out together if you come see me as we go down the road and we go through the due diligence process together. But it is a good option to look into if you're looking to get into your own business on that. It's a great business in a box, step-by-step process on that. If you'd like to learn more about franchising, you can go to my website, franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com. A lot of good information there on franchising, my due diligence process, the mistakes to avoid. You can download a copy of my book on there. Wall Street Journal bestseller, Real Freedom, Why Franchises Are Worth Considering and How They Can Be Used for Building Wealth. Free PDF version on my website as well for you. You can email me at greg@franchisemaven.com or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401. I'm happy to talk franchising with you and go wherever you want to from that point.
I love that. Amazing. So thank you so very much, Greg. Thank you for two things. Honoring the invite one and impacting us with so much amazing stuff. I tell you, thank you so very much.